Joining me right now on the show is former Super Eagles player Jide Olugbodi, who played at the highest level and understands what it is to be honored at this, prestigious tournament. Jide, good evening. It's good to have you on the show.
Evening, it's good to be here.
Finally, the gong is home, you want to say, and when the stars align, they do spell Ademola Lookman, and that it was just a crowning moment. I think most Nigerians were expecting this, or most Africans, you want to say, were expecting this. Let me get your thoughts starting off with the crowning of Ademola Lookman as the African best player on the continent. Was it something you expected? What was your reaction when the announcement was made?
Oh yes, absolutely. It's been coming. We've seen it. Is undoubtedly one of the. He's been the best player in Africa in the last year. I think he showed that in Europe. He scored a hat trick, being the first player to do so in a European final like that, and was instrumental in Super Eagles forays at the African Nations Cup. We were there, and he single-handedly, took us to the final. He's a fantastic boy. I watched him. I remember seeing him, close range when he was at Charlton. Watch him develop as a football player, and I'm so proud of him. For he's a very humble boy, and I'm so proud of what he has achieved. I'm also proud, for Nigeria as a Nigerian, obviously winning back to back, CAF African Player of Year awards under this new football regime. So let's transcend this. Let's take this to the next level now, and let's go to the World Cup. That's what we're all rooting for now.
You just preempted my next question, which is that those would say these are individual awards, from Chiamaka Nadozie and all others who got, recognized for their greatness on the field of play during the course of the year under review. That those who would say, how does this translate to our football in terms of national football success, both on the continental stage and, as you said, the World Cup, the global stage? So, what do you think we can do to tap into this cultural moment to ensure that our football is in a better place than it was 12 months ago?
Well, Samson, I'm not yet a mind reader, so but I think I speak for a lot of Nigerians when you see what we've been through in football and what football means to us as a country, as a nation. It's part of our culture, it's part of our tradition. Anywhere you mention Nigeria, I've been to different places on the globe, and the first thing they talk about is our football. So we export that, and you can see, look, Ademola, even though he didn't play in Nigeria, he has Nigerian roots. I mean, being a Nigerian actually, contributes to that. The thinking, your development, knowing that you're representing Nigeria as well helps. And I think that we can take this to the next level. It shows we have abundance of talent in Nigeria. I think what we need is patience, because I remember watching, like I said, Ademola when he was at Charlton. I watched him when he was at Liverpool. But it's a different player now. A player gets to a level where you understand the pitch. You know every inch of it. You know the movements you have to make. You know your defenders. If you're a striker, you know where you run into, where the space is, where the ball is. So it takes time. And if you look at him, a few years ago, they said he failed. I mean, he had to go on loan to Leipzig. He went on loan to Fulham as well. Not so successful. Everton, he couldn't even get a game in Everton, after some time, after his first season. So, but look at what he's become today. And I think one of the first things you take from this is patience, perseverance as well. You take a lot of that and planning, because I know he has a personal coach as well in Italy who work with him, get the best out of the player, not the whole team as well, but individually. And I think when you get the best of our players individually like this, you can then form a team of champions. I always say, to win any tournament, to win any championship, to be a force to be reckoned with, you need captains and leaders on the pitch. You need champions on the pitch. You need warriors on the pitch. And you need like 8 to 9 of them. So if we can get 8, 9 of them like that, in the mode of Ademola, we have Siemens, we have the Ainos, we have a lot of fantastic players. I think what we need to do is just get the nation behind them, get administration, get it right as well. Forget whatever is in the past. Let's forget the past. The past is a history told. What we need is the future. If we decide where we're going to see signposts that lead us that way. And that's what we need to focus on now, finding the signposts that take us to the destination where we need to go. And I'm confident that if we support this crop of boys and support the national team and the federation, we have the best set of players, for the years to come, because they're all young, approaching their peak now.
Okay, it would seem that you lend credence to the usual act of, the Football Federation presidents trying to lure the Nigerians in diaspora who are eligible to play for the country, to come back home and pledge their allegiance to the nation, as it were. Let's move away from there and talk about another Nigerian who made us proud on the night. Yes, she couldn't win the African Footballer of the Year for the women's category, but she still went home with a successful title defense, you want to call it, of the goalkeeper of the year, the second year running. Talking about Nigeria's Super Falcons goalkeeper Chiamaka Unadozie. She won the award last year, and this year she's also been phenomenal. You talk about growth, you can definitely mention Unadozie within that same limelight. What do you make of not just her winning that, but the fact that she has grown over the last 12 months, and how does this bode well for the Super Falcons, especially going into the Women's African Cup of Nations next year?
Absolutely. I mean, I've watched her develop as well, and you can call her, a captain's captain on the pitch. She's always calm. I see her coming when you need, in games. I've been in games where the balls keep coming in from the right, from the left. There's so much pressure. You need a goalkeeper that's going to take command and say, you know what, I've got this. Don't panic. I'm winning everything. And she does that for the Falcons. When she gets the ball, she's so calm. Under pressure, she's calm. She talks to everybody in there. And you can see it's a true mark of a leader. Like you said, she's done it back to back now, and we should take it to the next level, which is where does that take us, with the Falcons? How can we use that? Because when you have a lot of winners in the dressing room, you have people with the medals to show for it. It's easy to rally the young ones and say, come on, I've got it. You can, because you're near me. I'm not an immortal. I'm immortal like you. So these are the things we want. We want little successes like this off the pitch, bring it to the pitch, and of course, it takes us to the next level. So I'm excited for them. I'm excited for her. She's very experienced. She's been there a while, and I think she's got a lot, to pass on to, the younger players coming through as well, Samson.
Okay, let's hear from the lady herself and talking about the best goalkeeper on the continent, our Nigeria's own Chiamaka Unadozie. And afterwards, we'll be looking at, the women's team. That's the Super Falcons also emerging as the women's team of the year.
I want to thank the Lord Almighty for His grace and mercies over my life, and also the privilege to be here again. Last year I was here, and I'm also here today, and I'm very grateful to God. And I want to say a very big thank you to the CAF president, and also a very big thank you to the Nigerian Football Federation president, and all the good jobs they've been doing in the Nigerian female football. And also I want to say a very big thank you to my club, Paris FC. They've invested a lot in me, and also to my coaches, to my national team coaches, and to my national team teammates. This award wouldn't have been possible without you guys. You all made this happen, and I'm really grateful for you all. And of course, to my family, to my friends who have been supporting me from day one, I really want to say a very big thank you.
Well, a heart of gratitude, rather, she couldn't go with the biggest award for the women's category, but still retaining a title as the best goalkeeper on the continent. Now, let's talk about the national team. That's the Super Falcons. They were also named as the women's national team of the year, and you had the NFF president, Ibrahim Gusso, taking the award on behalf of the team, and also acknowledging the First Lady of the nation, Oluremi Tinubu, stating that immense support for women's football in the country is vital to the nation's excellence on the women's front when it comes to football in Africa.
La meilleure équipe féminine.
I'm happy to stand here again today. Last year, I was here to receive the same award. That shows the commitment and hard work we are putting to ensure that we maintain the standard of our women football. This award is dedicated to our First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, who has been supporting women football in Nigeria hardly. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's delve into something more controversial from the night, and this has to do with the CAF Men's 11. More often than not, when it comes to football awards, especially deciding the first 11 or the best 11, as it were, it is always controversial. For the Men's 11, Jide Olugbodi, I would like to get your thoughts concerning Andre Onana getting that spot right there. You look at, performance for club and country, it's probably very dismal, to say the very least, as against other top goalkeepers like Rowan Williams of South Africa or even Stanley Nwabali of Nigeria. We know quite well that Stanley is probably not playing for a top African club, talking about Chippa United, but his performances at AFCON definitely supersedes that of Andre Onana. Again, you want to ask yourself, if the best goalkeeper on the continent is Rowan Williams of South Africa, why is he not in the starting 11? Why Andre Onana right there for Cameroon?
Well, that's a good question because that's for the authorities to decide. I know that, to be honest, Andre Onana has also been in the Premiership. He's been in the spotlight. He was in Ajax before then. He's been at the top for a long time. And I think when they look at these things, they not only consider the continent, because the continent is different from the player of the year. So I think when they're looking at the continent, they're looking at performances, at the African Cup of Nations. They're looking at the South African goalkeeper, shotstopper. And, if you ask me how Onana made it as the number one goalkeeper in the 11, I would tell you I don't know. But, they have their reasons. They're probably taking into consideration the whole season in Europe, more exposure. He's more exposed to more shots. He's more exposed to better players, and I think that is probably what informed their decision. But I would say that both Williams and Onana, they're fantastic goalkeepers. And either way that it went or it will go, it's a befitting, for African football.
Well, when you talk about the exposure, that those who, I'm sure Manchester United fans will even disagree with Onana's inclusion on that list, considering some of his schoolball errors, you want to call them, or his error-strewn performances for the club side over the course of the year in review. And I do not think that Onana was the reason Manchester United won the FA Cup, as it were. But it is what it is. Let's talk about the women's. Quickly, before we move to the women's 11, any objection for you from the men's 11? You have Victor Osimhen in there. You have Ademola Lookman as well in the mix. It looks like everyone in the 11 is deserving of their spot, well, save for Onana.
Absolutely, and the only red flag or sore thumb, as we call it, is Onana. And so I'm with you on that, and I'm sure a lot of Manchester United fans will also say the same. But again, the authorities or the people who polled, they know why they chose him. So I think we should just move on. There's some controversies like that, so.
Okay, let's move on to the women's, category. Same thing again. You have Chiamaka Nnadozie, the best goalkeeper on the planet, but it's Lamini of South Africa that is in the women's 11. But looking at the women's 11, we have quite a handful of Nigerian players in there. Talking about the women's best 11, you have Michelle Alozie of Super Falcons, the defender, definitely well deserved during the course of the year, churning out impressive performances. You have Osinachi Ohale as well in the mix, not forgetting the likes of Rashida Ajibade and Asisa Oshoala. I think these are the well-deserved spots for these ladies.
Absolutely, they're well deserved. And again, if you ask me, I think what we need to get, CAF to tell us, or rather ask them to do, is to be more consistent. Because if you give a goalkeeper of the year or goalkeeper of the continent, surely that goalkeeper should be in the first 11. Because there's no better 11 you're going to produce. But aside that, again, we go to the crop of players we've got in there, the young players coming up, learning the trade, getting the experience. And I think it's good for African football and Nigerian football, because some people say if Nigeria gets it right, Africa gets it right. And I wouldn't agree more, because we're the most populous nation in Africa. We have youth between, I believe, 17 and 29, 28. It's probably 60% of our population. So, kudos, to the selectors, kudos to the federation. And I hope we can just, like this, walk off the bat of this and make sure that Falcons become more successful, win tournaments, Olympics, different things. And, the more they talk about us, it means we're doing something right. So, congratulations to the players who have made it as well.
Okay. Before we wrap up discussions about the CAF Awards, your general overview of the award night in terms of the credibility and how we can also improve our football. It was good to see, the sportsmanship right there. It was a colorful evening to say the very least. But what other reforms do you expect CAF to implement to ensure that African football across all cadre as well as various categories is definitely up there with their counterparts in Europe and other parts of the world?
I think European football, for one, or European awards, they've been the mirror for world awards. And when you look at the Ballon d'Or, you look at it, the way everybody, talks about it. And when you see the African Nations Cup in January, I say that's the best tournament we've had so far in Africa, by without any doubt. And I think that trend is followed also by the CAF Awards. It's probably, as I've been told, it's probably one of the best we've done so far as well. And I was so happy to see Ademola in the Nigerian attire as well. I call it Nigerian. And, with native language as well. He really looked like a Nigerian prince or king like that. And I think we want to see more of that. We want to see tradition. We want to see color. We want to see our culture, because this is how they get to know about us. Africa is not a country. Africa is a continent made of different countries. And what better way to expose ourselves than this? So I think it was a very good thing that we did. And I'm looking forward to Morocco next year when we go to the CAF African Cup, because I know it's going to be a continuation of this. And again, the CAF Awards next year, I'm sure will be better than this as well. So congratulations to Africa, and I hope Nigeria do a three-peat next year. Come on, guys, let's do it.
Okay, yes, so says we can produce the 2025 African Footballer of the Year, especially with the way the likes of Ademola Lookman as well as Victor Osimhen are playing right now. The other Nigerian footballers doing quite well as well across Europe. It's just a beautiful thing to see at this point in time. More attention should we, put into grassroots football development, and our football will definitely hit the expected heights. Now, before I let you go, let's turn our attention quickly to the European scene and talk about Mikel Mudryk. That's the Chelsea forward, and that's because the news is breaking and it's hot, it's generating debates, and that's because the Football Association has suspended him for failing a drug test. Again, for Mudryk and Chelsea, this is definitely not the kind of news they were expecting to hear. Mudryk was, highly touted prior to his move to Chelsea, and he has failed to settle in Chelsea as a result of, various issues from injuries to lack of form and what have you. Now, this drug ban is definitely a minus. And for Chelsea, who have slashed Liverpool's lead to just 2 points in the league, this is a distraction they do not want at this point in time.
Absolutely. And I'm hearing reports from the grapevine that it's actually meldonium. And meldonium is not a substance found in UK, so it's probably something he did outside of UK. And if you understand the way the FIFA look at this, and CAS as well, Court of Arbitration for Sports, they frown at this. And anything to do with performance enhancement, drugs, doping, a player could get up to 4 years. I hope for his sake it was just accidental, because sometimes players get these things in, prescriptions, especially with him. He's been through a lot of injuries. So when you try to recover, players try to, do all sorts of self-treatments and all. So I'm hoping for his sake that is what it is. Because if he cannot prove where he found it or how it came into his system, I'm afraid he could be gone for 4 years. Pogba was banned and for 4 years as well. We know just this year as well. So, and again, sports, we don't want doping. I was a football player. I want everybody to be natural on the pitch. If you're competing with men, compete with, mortals like you. You don't want players coming on the pitch, enhancing their performance in such ways. And I hope for him this is not proven because he's gone for a second test. So they're doing a B sample test. And if it happens that it is, then it becomes a big issue.
Okay, we'll see how this pans out. It definitely stands the risk of being suspended for 4 years, and that'll just probably put an end to what seemed a promising career just about 2 years ago. Jide Olugbodi, former Super Eagles player, thank you so much for your time on the show this evening.
You're welcome.